So Scott Adams has been catching a lot of flack lately over some comments that he's made about black lives and supporting black people and white people getting away from black people, all that kind of stuff. So, and I want you to hear this argument that Scott makes here. And I think it's actually really interesting that his mom allowed him to make this argument against the Christian faith and didn't push back. I'm sorry. It's actually sad because the reason that he, according to his testimony, at the age of 11, he decided that the Christian faith was all made up and the Bible was all made up is really, it's a misnomer. I mean, the bad thing is I was taught that the exact same thing that he's going to say, I was taught the same thing too, probably even younger. And I kind of questioned that. And I didn't understand it because of probably the same reason that you, when you were taught this thing, that you probably were like, hey, wait. What? But then when I look back, all I did was go back and look at the Bible. I went back and looked at the Bible, not what I was told in class. And once I looked at the Bible, I'm like, oh, it doesn't say what we've been told in class. It was a small hiccup, and many people, I think for hundreds of years, have been perfectly fine with this story and how it panned out, even though the main antagonist in the story is not who we said it was. I mean, it was a different creature. I think that's okay. I don't think that's a reason to say that the faith is bunk. However, he also says that he went and found his evidence and made this plea to his mom that the Christian faith was garbage. I would love to know what he found. I would love, because again, the first story that he gives, that's not a good one, my friend. And now I do want to give him kudos that he used to be like a staunch atheist. Now he's just like, hey, do you, if you like believe in religion, it works for you, then do life. And okay, kudos for being receptive and respectful to other people's faith. Perfectly fine. But you still have to deal with your own, though, Scott. So there's still going to be that problem that you're going to still have to deal with this. You can't just say, well, I choose not to worry about it. I choose not to think about it. You're going to still have to. It's still there. It's still haunting at your door. It's still going to come, and you will have to answer. So let's just look at it. I'll let you check it out, and we'll check it out at the end. Grace and peace.
I am pro-religion. That wasn't always the case. I went through, I was raised a Methodist. At age 11, I called a meeting with my mom. This is a true story. Age 11, I called a meeting with my mom because I'd heard this story about Jonah and the whale. And I said, Mom, they're telling me that a whale ate a guy named Jonah and he lived in the stomach for days. And then he was spit out. And he was fine, despite having no oxygen and living in the stomach acid of a whale for days. And I said to my mother, Mom, I hate to tell you this, but it's all made up. This can't possibly be true. It's crazy. And I told her that I was quitting religion because it was so clearly just made up. And my mom, to her credit, listened to my explanations. She listened to me say that I was done with going to what we call Sunday school, which was a religious teaching at my local church. And she said, okay. That was the end of the conversation. Never came up again. How cool is that? Best mom move ever. All she asked for that or anything else was that we thought it out, we gathered the information, and we had a reason that made sense. I stayed in Sunday school for years, gathered all the information, presented my case, showed my reasons. She looked at me, 11 years old, she looked at me and said, okay, done. It was never a topic of conversation one time for the rest of my life. That was it. So I went through a, violent young man's atheist phase. I have evolved since then to a position that, objectively speaking, people who have religion in their lives for those individuals, and it's not true for everybody, and I don't think it would be true for me, but for those individuals, they get a lot out of it. Probably makes the world a better place. So I've gone from, well, if people want to be religious, let them, but I don't think it's helping anything, to a more mature opinion of it, which is it's clear that it's helping people. It's obvious that many people are helped by religion in lots of different ways, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, physically. They're healthier, just all kinds of ways. So I'm very pro-religion. Obviously, there are people who pervert their religions to become terrorists and whatever, but I'm very pro-religion for people who find it useful. As a tool, I find it super useful for some types of personalities. Just wouldn't work for me individually.
Come on now. We all have heard it. Jonah and the whale. Absolutely. I mean, I've heard that story. I'm pretty sure that most of you have heard that story as well. And when we realize that whales' throats are not that big, that they can swallow a human, it does get cantankerous, like, oh, but then you go look at the Bible. The Bible makes it very clear it was a large fish. It was a large fish. And that could have very well have happened. And please keep in mind, we are talking about a supernatural event. Why can the same God who said, let there be, and all of creation was created, not make a fish that could swallow a human? Why? And have that fish spit the human out on land and the human still be okay? Why can it not be? Why can it not be? Why? I do think it's interesting that Scott's mom allowed him to get away with that. I don't say get away with that, but allowed him to challenge that without really challenging him back. Okay, your Sunday school teacher said Jonah and a whale. How many of us have done that? I know I've done it. I know I've said Jonah and the whale. I know I've taught it until I realized, like, wait, it was a fish. Like, oh, my bad. And even, I mean, come on. Is that a deal breaker, really? And what were the other things that he found issue with? I would love to know. What were the other things that he found issue with in the Christian faith? Now, the fact that he, as a person who rejects all religions or is cool with religions existing, I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be something that has to be dealt with. You can't do away with it. You can't say, oh, well, I just choose not to participate in it. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. That's not how any of this works, Scott. So it was interesting. I appreciate his candor. I appreciate his transparency. And I do pray that Scott does, in fact, hear the true gospel and is given an opportunity to get his questions answered. If he has real viable questions, get those answered. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do with Christ is the question that must be dealt with. And how do you deal with your sin?